I guess okay.
You ready? Hi, Tom.
Hey.
Thank you for joining me.
Oh my gosh. We'll edit this all out later. I got it. Hi, Sheryl. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here with me today. You always
My
make me
genius
laugh.
has vast limitations. My genius has vast limitations. Setting up my iPad. Look at the glasses here.
Yeah,
This is good. Got the little hair thing going.
you look
Thanks for
great.
having me. It's great to be here.
It's nice to have you. So I don't know if I could get through this without laughing. You always make me laugh.
Hey,
Uh,
there's a correlation between immaturity and longevity. So laughter will need
Laughter
this.
is
Yeah,
great.
I'm generally drawn to people who are funny or good laughers.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah. Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
So let's dive into the questions. You're known for the
Okay.
painting that went viral of your dog Lucas, titled "A Golden Retriever at the Museum." Can you tell us a bit more about that and what inspired that piece?
Sure. It was um, a series of paintings that I would do depicting people from behind looking at a painting at an art museum. I mean, it's something that's been done before. You see it in a lot of advertisements in whatever form. I think there was a Norman Rockwell painting of a man in a suit looking at a Jackson Pollock painting, looking kind of befuddled, or you didn't see his face. So there was a cold day in January here in Pittsburgh in 2013, and for whatever reason, I was working on a boring commission, and Lucas was with me, my 2-year-old golden retriever, and I thought, what would Lucas be enamored with at an art museum? So it was squirrels, sticks, tennis balls, and squirrels and sticks probably could be a choking hazard for a stick, and you don't want to encourage people to attack animals. But so I went with tennis balls. So I quickly set up a tripod camera and I set it down low, and I stood in front of. I put it right behind Lucas as he was sitting down, facing the other direction. And I held a treat for him, and I took 3 photos. And I wanted to get a shot of him looking up and maybe just seeing the tip of his nose. And like the second shot, I nailed it. It was perfect. So I just kind of had fun with it, and I sketched out on a just a 30-inch by 40-inch little canvas that I had lying around in my studio, and did a quick rendering of it. I remember I posted the image on Facebook back in the day, and it got a lot of clicks. It got a lot of likes, and I knew it was a good idea. But we always have good ideas as artists, and so
Yeah.
I whipped it up a painting. I threw some oil paint on it, and it looked pretty cool. And I kind of forgot about it in a way because I just had to go through these other projects. And I remember I sent it off to a art gallery in New York. They wanted to see some stuff that I've been working on. I just sent it to them on a and one of several other paintings, a couple abstract paintings, and they posted it on their website, which I really didn't know they were doing, and it went viral and it went everywhere. And I started to realize friends in California and my cousin in Los Angeles that I told you about, and cousin Scott in Oak Park, said, "Dude, I just saw your painting of Lucas on my Facebook page. There's like 1,000 shares." And that went on. I had a friend in England who said, "I just saw your painting of Lucas. What's going on?" And it had like 100,000 shares and stuff. So we said, we're my friends or publishers here. We said let's make a limited edition print run, and they weren't cheap. We sold them for $500 a pop, but let's donate $100 for every print that we sell to an organization called the Animal Rescue League. It's Animal Humane Rescue now here in Pittsburgh, and we sold out in 6 weeks of the prints. It was unbelievable,
It's
and it
amazing.
was just a great fun feeling that this painting, a little painting of my dog, was so appreciated. And I really realized that the, the canine world and the golden retriever world are quite powerful. So
Yeah.
we cut a check for $10,000 to the Animal Rescue League, and
Wow.
we made money too. So it was a win-win. So it
Win-win.
inspired a whole series of follow-ups. There's 2 golden retrievers at the museum, 3, 4, 5 golden retrievers at the museum. There's one with Lucas, and they kept repeating the image. And you can see one of the follow-up
Yes.
paintings behind me.
Yes.
The original is right over here. I could bring it over too, but uh, I think we've raised with the follow-up paintings and prints. I think we've sold over 650 prints from the series, and we've raised around $46,000 for a variety of rescue groups. So it's been it's going on. I'll show you. Let's go mobile. There's a German Shepherd at the museum.
Yes.
There's Golden Doodle at the museum right over there. And right over here, tucked in a corner by one of my big faces, which we can talk about, is where is it? There we go. Yep, there's the original painting, just a little painting of Lucas sitting here in the corner minding its own business. It is, yeah.
Wow, I thought it was so much bigger than that. It's like the Mona Lisa.
It's little. It's this little 30 by 40 inch canvas, and it was, and again, here's another replica. So there's a version. We're walking. Yeah. There's a version, and this is my sister's golden retriever Henry hanging out here. Hey Henry, say hi. You're on a podcast. Be lively. You did so well in rehearsal.
Yeah, and if anyone is listening and they want to watch this, you could go on my YouTube channel and you could see the recording and see all the video and beautiful paintings.
Yeah, and in fact, these canvas prints that we saw, the different follow-ups, here's one of the more recent replica versions. They're bigger than the original painting was. So size doesn't always matter.
No.
I think Dolly's melting clock was like this big.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so it was just it's ongoing, and Lucas has a Facebook page. I think there's 4,500 likers, and it's just an ongoing. I'm doing the painting over my left shoulder is for a client in Texas, and that's Nala, who passed away in this spring. It's honoring her. So I think that painting has like 3,000 likes on 4 different golden retriever pages. I mean, it's really powerful with social media. If you have a niche, like doing paintings of golden retrievers or flowers, whatever it might be, you can find these Facebook pages and you could gently promote your work without being too, advertising on them. Right. And that's very powerful. It's really powerful. So Golden Retrievers USA, I love golden retrievers. There's a whole bunch of them. So I gently post these images of the paintings, and it's been a good revenue stream. And but it was about a painting that I just did for the fun of it. It wasn't about making money. Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. That's what I've noticed about art. When it comes from your heart, it makes a bigger impact than when you're thinking about trying to, I don't know, make money from it or have other intentions.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to have that fine line where you create art just for the love of it, of creation and the meditation of it. At some point you have to pay attention to what the market is dictating. It's like, and have a niche, doing portraits, kids portraits, landscape paintings or whatever. So, but still it comes down to, we would be doing this just for the love of it. And to have a successful money-making venture from a painting that was done just for the fun of it is just super gratifying. Lucas passed away this March, so he was 13. So it was very beautiful and awful at the same time, but his legacy still lives on. And you can see he's still, if you look at my paintings from the past 12 years, you can still see dog hair on them. So he's still around. It's pretty funny.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, I have a dog, Buddy, and he's right here next to me, and he's just looking away. But they're so special, our furry animals, and especially when you're painting and they're right there next to you. And then I always think I enjoy every single day with him, because you just never know when,
I mean, you're a mom. So, I mean, there's a difference between being a mom of a human child and your pet, but still they kind of mark the time. You look at photographs from the past about 12 years, Lucas was there in all these different scenarios. He came with me to my various studios since he was 8 weeks old. So he was a fixture with me and my work. he was more popular than I ever was. So, but Henry is from an organization called Golden Retrievers in Need. It's one of the they're in near Cleveland, Ohio, and it's a rescue group for golden retrievers. And purebred dogs are also, there's rescue groups for all kinds of dogs. It's not just about mixed breeds. Purebreds have rescue groups. There could be puppy mills. There could be just people who are elderly and can't take care of their dogs. So it's total win-win to hook up with a charity or a rescue group, in my case, to promote your work. I'm glad to give them money. I love giving them money. So Henry was adopted by my sister from Grin. So he's a rescue dog.
Yeah, my dog Buddy is also a rescue, so I'm all for it. I think that's wonderful. You create these huge, beautiful portraits, a series you call Really Big Faces. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, there's one looming over my shoulder right now. That's Bill Strickland. He was the founder of the Manchester Craftsmen's Guild, which is a huge school that teaches kids the arts. It's a theater and a lot of painting classes, and it's music. It's a real fixture here in Pittsburgh. So in December of 2019, I had a gallery space rented out. I knew I was going to have a little show, so I needed a theme, and it just kind of came to me, kind of inspired by the paintings of Chuck Close, if you remember that, the artist from the 70s, 80s, who did the giant portraits, sometimes with grid patterns, with funky shapes that formed a face. So I said, okay, I'll do 12 giant portraits, maybe 5.5 feet tall, of friends. And I kind of set about photographing a few friends and kind of testing out the different techniques and the looks. And I was kind of inspired by the color palette of Andy Warhol, who's a Pittsburgher. His museum is about 2 miles away from my studio. Yeah, he's from an area called McKees Rocks. McKees Rocks? Yeah. No, McKeesport, near there. And he moved to New York. He graduated from Carnegie Mellon. It was Carnegie Tech back then. And he moved to New York when he was around 2021 and started becoming a pen and ink illustrator. And then you know the story after that. But yeah, the museum's about a 7-minute drive down Route 28 South here in Pittsburgh. Jackson Pollock, I use my flow technique where I stick rods into gallons of house paint. If you look over here, you can see this. I've got all this house paint on the floor, and if you put a rod or a paintbrush into the paint and hover over a canvas, a stream of paint comes out, and you can kind of guide it. It's like drawing and painting at the same time. So I honored Jackson Pollock, or inspired by him. There's a drawing technique that artist named Bernie Fuchs used to use. So it's very circular. So I gave a name to my technique. I call it my loop technique. So I kind of listed Bernie Fuchs as being one of the inspirations. But I kept making paintings over the winter of 2020, and the art show was scheduled in March 13th of 2020. I think you remember a little thing that happened right about that weekend. That was the weekend of the shutdown. So needless to say, Really Big Faces did not happen. It was a very pretentious name, Really Big Faces, but it seemed to be very appropriate. But you know how weird that was, obviously, during that time. And I said, I'm going to keep making them. I was not happy for the reasons of the shutdown and why I had to postpone the show, but I saw the potential to do more. And I was kind of really excited about that. I was getting better at them. In fact, of the 5 that I created that would have been for the first show, I painted over them and redid them because I was getting better. So within 2 weeks, a week after the shutdown, I was photographing friends. I started reaching out to people in the arts, and then people who are affected by COVID, and then people who are affected in some form by Black Lives Matter, or small business people who are affected by COVID. Everybody was affected by COVID. So it became a passion project for me to kind of reach out and meet new people. It was kind of hard during that time to meet people. And COVID kept going on, and I kept pushing show dates. And needless to say, like 2 years later, I was still creating them. And I found a great space called the Energy Innovation Center in downtown Pittsburgh that has an amazing view of the city downtown. It's remarkable. And we had the show last June 18th. Ran for 3 weeks, and we had a follow-up show, and I created 84 of these guys. So
Whoa.
it was nuts. And so I had to get sponsors for all the easels that had to be made, and we hung the paintings in this long skylight lit hallway at the Innovation Center, and it was remarkable. And 650 people came. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
It was great, but the artwork wasn't for sale. It was a passion project. I wanted to celebrate Pittsburgh and Pittsburghers and us, just represent all these people, represented people from all over the world. We all had to deal with COVID, and it's kind of COVID inspired too, as it morphed and changed along the way. Yeah, so
inspiring. I love that.
And it was nice, like we were talking about how making art, and it's not all about making money. It was gratifying it was a 8-hour show. People trickled in all day, and it was kid friendly. It was just nice. It was just a feel good day.
Well, just to have that experience again.
Yeah. And
such a blessing,
And it was a beautiful sunshiny day in the main room. It's called Covestro Bright Space. They turned out to be my main sponsor for the show. It's 2 stories tall, and it's lined with windows to the floor to ceiling. And it's just, the sun was just streaming in, and it was kind of one of the best days of my life, truly. It was super cool. And it was fun to see all the people posing with their giant portraits. And I put biography signs mounted on each painting. So I put photographs of the people, and I had them write little bios, which I dropped into their signs. So when people would walk by, they would see the giant portrait, but also beside it were these big biography signs, and people would stop by and read about the people. So it's more than just a funky guy with purple hair, It was like all these people had stories, and we all have a story to tell. And our stories got really altered starting in March of 2020.
Yeah, that's so true. I just love that. I love portraits. I paint portraits, so I can relate to what you do. And when it was around that time too, March 2020, I decided I would paint the frontliners, and I just put it out on Facebook. If anyone knows anyone who is a nurse or doctor and wants a portrait painted, and that was such a beautiful experience for me, and it had such a wonderful impact on the people I was painting and their family or friends. And yeah, I feel like even though it was a very difficult and challenging time, there was some silver linings in it, and it's all how you I guess perceive it and what you can create with it, especially being an artist. So
it's like anytime a storm blows you off course, sometimes it blows you off course to a beautiful deserted island, and that's what COVID did in this case for me. This show would not have happened without COVID. In fact, one of my subjects was on the board of directors for the Innovation Center, because I had 84 giant portraits. I don't know where I was going to display them. It was too big. And this Energy Innovation Center, you could look it up. You could Google it. It's amazing. And they've already started. It kind of kicked off their program to have art events, and in fact, paying artists to have events there. So it was a total feel good situation. But I applied for a grant here in Pittsburgh. The airport here in Pittsburgh is being renovated. There's $1 billion renovation project, and 20% of that goes to art installations over time. So I've applied to have the really big faces line the airport hallways and greet people as they're visiting the city. I think it's kind of a perfect way to greet people to the city, with the 84 and probably 90 faces and stories of Pittsburghers that they can relate to, and they're all smiling at you as you enter the city. I photographed all the people, so and a lot of them were photographed at my studio, or I made sure, just a little trick, I made sure that I would position them in front of large windows on the most part, or skylights in case of my studio. And so those grid patterns of the windows show up in the eyes. And we could, as artists, we could make that up. But for me, I really got into their eyes, and it was great for me to hear people compliment the eyes of all the portraits. I mean, it's
Yes,
kind of
that's what I
wild that,
noticed too. The eyes, yes.
we could make it up, but it's nice to see. If you really enlarge a digital photograph of a portrait, you can see your reflection in their eyes, posing with your camera, or what's ever behind you. And Bill Strickland behind me was posing outside of the Manchester Craftsmen's Guild, and he's had 2 lung replacements, and so COVID was really risky for him. So I was really gratified that he allowed me to photograph him, and he was outside, and this bright sidewalk was showing in his eyes. And if you notice, his eyes are really glowing, and there's like a black shape in the middle of his eyes. It's sort of his pupil, but it was me photographing him on this concrete walkway, and his eyes just blew up. So it became, I think we all as artists, there's always that possibility of getting obsessed with projects and what have you. And this became a very positive obsession for me. And I met a ton of people that I would have met. And it's just, and again, it's still ongoing. So, and also you think about this kind of project, you think about monetizing it too. I offered to do commissions of people and companies for big faces, and I've done a bunch of commissions as a result of that. So it was monetized. If I was to sell them, I would sell them as a group, hopefully, maybe to a corporation, to line a corporate offices or something. So it's still in the works, but right now they're lining the hallways of my studio here at 412 Studios here in Pittsburgh, and I see a lot of them every day looking at me. And I got 5 of them at my apartment too.
Nice. That's really cool. I love that story. Was there someone who inspired you to become an artist? What made you decide to become a professional artist?
Well, I think all little kids love to draw and paint, and somewhere along the line, quite often an adult discourages them. It's like, that doesn't look like an apple. What are you doing? Don't waste your time doing this.
Yeah.
And my dad was an advertising director for a local department store in my hometown, and my mom, she wanted to go to New York to be an actress, but she became a mom. But both of them were involved in community theater, so they were very artistic. And Mom said, if my kids want to go into the arts, I'm going to let them, because she kind of was discouraged to go to New York and be an actress. So that was they just kind of kept nudging me, or just giving me permission to be creative, and I just kept doing it. So I went to Penn State University, and I was a fine arts major there, and I did work for the Daily Collegian. I was an illustrator for the local the school newspaper, and actually made a little money. And I did a lot of work. I do a lot of sports related work. I did work for the sports information office at Penn State. So I was kind of a commercial artist as well. So I was making a little money as an illustrator, and as well as getting better as an artist. And then the only job I had was I was the mascot for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I was the pirate parrot mascot, if you can believe that. So I think I performed at 715 baseball games, and I went to England a couple of times and Holland a few times to baseball tournaments, because I can dance,
Fun facts.
Some artists and actresses, I've had a bizarre life. Some artists and actors, they wait on tables, they bartend to get by. I jumped around in a bird suit. So again, it was my parents they were really proud of me putting my Penn State degree to good use to perform. So yeah, and the Pirates went to the playoffs 3 years in a row, so I got to perform I'd bring in dancers, and we'd do choreography, and we'd plan skits, and so I would do cowboy dancing, hip hop dancing. Yeah, I could probably still do one game if I have it in me, if they want to bring me back.
That's awesome.
So yeah, but you do what you can when you're in the arts to keep on keeping on. Parents find a way to still do their artwork. You find the time, and sometimes I hear stories about artists who were discouraged by their parents, and that kind of inspired them to fight through and go into the artistic world. So my parents said, go for it. My sister Nancy's she's a casting director here in Pittsburgh, so she conducts auditions for TV commercials and movies. So she's in the arts as well.
Yeah, I feel like when you have that support system, it's even more encouraging. And I always talk about that, how important it is for parents to encourage their kids to follow their bliss and not discourage them, even though it might be scary for the parents, to allow them to figure it out along the way and make
And
their
it doesn't,
mistakes.
you don't necessarily have to become a full-time dancer or artist or singer or
Right.
musician, but you can have it in your life. And I think
Yes.
by having that, it's all about creative thought and creative thinking. You can incorporate that into being a doctor. How do you creatively solve a problem or a challenge? Allow yourself to be creative. Everything we do is an idea. Think about it. It's why we love playing sports. You're dribbling a basketball and you're like crossover dribble, spin move, shoot, step back and drop shot. Every movement's an idea. And it's why we love playing sports. Uh, Literally everything we do is an idea. I decided to go over here. That was an idea. I decided to talk about ideas. That was an idea. Sometimes they're little ideas. And sometimes there's big ideas like I want to become an artist or I want to get married or I want to move. But parents have to give their kids permission to embrace their ideas and act on them and save them and let them morph and see what happens.
I love that. Give them permission. Yeah, that's
Yeah, we give ourselves permission that if you have a great idea, write it down, see what you can do with it. It could be a small idea about gardening, or it could be a big idea about starting a business. But if you allow yourself, give your self permission for those ideas to come in, let them come in. You don't have to be 40 years old. You don't have to be 60. You can be 18 and have great ideas. The idea of painting a golden retriever looking at a tennis ball from behind at an art museum setting, I could have thought of that when I was 15. So I have this theme where you probably noticed the basketballs and footballs up there. I have this theme where I paint logo paintings using painted basketballs and footballs. And it's been a great theme for me and a moneymaker. And I do work for Sports and the Arts stadium curator through Tracy Speck, and I'll do a lot of logo treatments. And she's constantly asking me to come up with different themes that another team can use. Say, this is special. He hasn't done this before. And what better way to create a Green Bay Packers football logo than by using a Green Bay Packers football? In fact, I have one right here. I'll show you. So this is a Wilson basketball logo. That's it. I don't know if I can get it all in here. It's quite large, but it's a big W. And if you look closely, you can see
all the
Wilson logo.
Yeah.
In fact, because you're seeing me backwards, it's spelling it out.
Yeah.
Wilson forwards. Otherwise, it's backwards in the painting, but that's part of the art. But you can see the dimples and the seams and the logos. And I could have. It's great fun too. You use stencil board. It's a very simple process. You go to Kinko's and you cut out the perfect logo onto the board and use staples, and you peel the stencil back, and there's your logo. Yeah.
Amazing. It's so creative.
Yeah, so I could have thought of that idea when I was 15, but I'm glad I did. Like 8 years ago. Like sneaker bottoms leave a tread, tires, bicycle tires. Start thinking about things. What could leave a cool pattern?
Yeah.
Sheet metal leaves a cool pattern.
That's what's so amazing about creating an art. There are no rules or limits, and it's just about, I think a lot of it's about having fun in the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not taking yourself too seriously.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what you gotta, I'll joke around with my friends. They'll be talking about, like, my couple professor friends are talking about writing a paper and how pressure they're under to raise money in a grant. And I'll say, oh my gosh, I know what you're doing, man. I was painting with my balls today. Oh, it's stressful painting with balls. I was painting dogs all day. It's tough, so you can't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah. I agree. Did you ever have any fears or doubts about becoming an artist?
This morning, like, lots of fears and doubts. Oh, just in general. There's been like 6 this hour.
Yeah.
Fears and doubts. I'm
Yeah.
kidding. I'm sorry.
No, no. And if so, how did you overcome them?
As far as just the about being an artist, or just
Yeah,
in
like,
general.
yeah, about being an artist and like just putting
Well,
your
one
art
thing that
out
I
there and
well, if you 20 years ago, if you were trying to get eyeballs on your work, you had to make prints, you had to stuff samples into an envelope, mail them off to an art director at a museum or a magazine, and then you had to follow up with calls, and you had to deal with, you know, like art directors with ADD who were busy and pissed off, and it
yeah.
was tough. And now you can get your work out there instantly. I mean,
Uh-huh.
this is phenomenal what we're doing. To think about this 20 years ago would have been like science fiction. But one thing I do, like I've always done it, is that I'm a real, how do I say, I'm a real fitness guy. I'm always moving my body. I only recently, I used to run for like, geez, since I was 18, I was a runner, and I've done like 5 marathons and 10 half marathons, and I'm a real yogi. I've been doing yoga since like the late 90s, and I'm
I
always
love
moving my
yoga.
body, and no matter to inject, because being an artist, when you're working, it creates a lot of energy. And I found that that's sort of like been like therapy for me for over the years. So whatever fears and doubts that I was encountering, and there are a lot when you have $200 in your pocket and it's the end of the month, and you're, you know, 20 years ago, how am I going to pay my rent? There's fears and doubts. You go for a run, get your endorphins going, and really appreciate being healthy and alive. And, you know, that's the most important thing, or one of the most important things in life. Then you go on and you deal with, okay, I need to make a painting. I need to sell something to pay my rent. You sell it, you move on. But I've always, I've always moved my body in whatever capacity. And I just, something I don't get in shape. I'm just being in shape. What did oh, I did yoga today. I'm not posting images of me in the gym going like this because I did tries today. It's just something that I do. And it really has helped me with fears and doubts. Could be just, and that's what's great about having a big dog. It forces you in the Northeast where I'm at. You have to walk your dog at night. The last
Mhm.
thing could be 1 o'clock in the morning. It could be literally minus 10 degrees and it's snowy out. And you look up and you see an amazing full moon because you walked your dog. I mean, when you walk, I did the math about how often I'd walk Lucas and sometimes run with Lucas. It was thousands of miles of walking and running, just taking your dog out. And I think you read the self-help books or hear the stories about activities to help you in life, and going for a walk is one of them. You have a big dog or a little dog, you got to go for walks, and you
Yes.
meet people. And that's a past 12 years that was, and I owned a couple other dogs too, that was therapy for me too. It's like, especially at the studio, Lucas needs to go out, take a little walk, clear your head, and come back and bang it out some more. So big dogs are good for that.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's all about, a lot of it's about movement. And I run as well and I do yoga and that always helps me and inspires me in some way, shape or form. So
Yeah, I
I
did
can
a lot of
relate.
hip hop dancing classes, you know, because when I was, the reason I was the mascot back in the day is because of my dancing. I'm a pretty good dancer, so you find outlets to move your body, and that job was just essentially dancing and body movement because I was a real wild man when I did that. It was just total self expression. And um, another, you know, just going to a salsa class for an hour,
Yeah.
and also for me to go to a yoga class was also to be around people, because I'm a really social guy. And when you're an
Mhm.
artist, unless you're collaborating with people, and I'm always inviting people in my studio to hang out and paint, it was a way of being around people, even if I'm not really talking to them, just like, you know, namasteing them, you know, not really saying. It was just nice to be around people,
Yeah.
get my people fix and
Yeah.
my move my body fix all in one, and go back at it.
I love that. Has art healed you in any way?
I mean, when you're painting or drawing and really into the moment and things are working, it's total meditation. So as far as like, I'm not always like need to be healed, but I've had periods of time where, a bad breakup, financial issues, or, a physical injury or something. Once you're painting and drawing and creating, again, you start meditating. I think that's when people talk about, I'm going to meditate today. Well, I can do that while I'm working on a dog painting or whatever, and things start to pop. And whatever issues you might be going through, even if you had too much coffee during the day or somebody yelled at you and you're upset about it, I guess you have these micro healings that you do. And again, it's about creativity and being whatever that might be. And as people like to play golf, that's creativity. Being an artist it's the process of drawing or painting or building or carving, but it's the meditation aspect of it, where you're just zoning out and you're making something too. I wish people who were dentists or other kinds of occupations could have the opportunity to sign their work. What a cool thing to say, I'm signing my work. Look at that. I did that. Absolutely. We have a great opportunity as artists to do that. Put the date on it. I did this, it's like your little kids. Little kids look at the refrigerators and their parents are posting proudly their crayon drawings from school. And it's like, that's a great thing when you look up and you say, I did that. There's an I did that factor with creating art.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Could be mowing a lawn. You mow a lawn. I used to work at a golf course when I was a kid in the summer times, and I look back at a green that I mowed and I would say, I did that. I wanted to sign it.
Yeah.
But
that's cool.
I'm very deep, Sheryl. I'm very deep.
You are.
Whoa.
That's why I want to interview you.
These thoughts, I can't keep them in. I got to share with the world.
So I met you through Saturday Night Live art shows. Again, something good that came from the lockdowns and everything. Which is
through Brooke. Brooke did work for Chase Center.
Yeah.
In San Francisco, and I met Brooke, and then that's how I met you and everyone. And that was doing those. If you're about to ask me about the Saturday Night Live art shows, doing those was very cathartic because again, this was so weird what we were going through in 2020. It didn't really change my life as far as coming to my studio here. After like 3 days, they figured out a way that I could still come here and the other people in the building could. But yeah, it was very cathartic to do that. But it was also a great tool to become a better public speaker.
Yes.
And I would do it for like 40 minutes, just sort of like, what, I'm just going to do this. But when that little red light comes on or whatever, it changes things. It's like, oh, it's like, okay. And I noticed the first one that I did, and hopefully I'm not doing it too much today. I said or like 80 times in like 20 minutes. So I realized that I'm an ummer. Just breathe through it. You breathe through it and you get by.
Or like
a liker or a sower. And you're just buying time.
You're trying to fill up that space and
fill that space, just. And then I crossed the street. And then I went up the stairs. You just breathe through it, connect the sentences. You don't need to fill it with a so. In fact, my fiance Mara did a bunch with me here at the studio, and
I remember.
Yeah. I always did better when she was here because I had somebody to bounce off. Ideas. When you're talking by yourself, it's like, well, Tom, what do you think of this painting? Well, Tom, that's beautiful. Where do you get your inspiration? Well, Tom, it's like this. Well, you're me. Why are you talking to yourself?
Yeah, it's not like this right now.
Yeah, you're talking to yourself. But, radio people do. That's what it. And she did. It was funny. She did well, she'll probably watch this, but she did a little segment of her own. And she clapped 28 times in 8 minutes. And she's very Italian. She was going, and I can't believe, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. She realized she's a clapper, but it's part of who she is. She just knew after that she needed to tone down her claps. Yeah. So she's a clapper and I'm an ummer. It's hilarious. Oh. Italians, they're always going like this. Yeah.
Well, I'm Persian, so we
right.
dance a lot.
Right. Right. So, it's your, but it's something you need to kind of monitor.
Yeah. Well, when
And
I did my first,
anytime I had any little public speaking situations, those Saturday Night Live videos were really instrumental in just helping with that. We don't get a whole lot of many chances to public speak. And that was a really good tool.
Yeah. I think especially for artists, because we hide so much, and it's a vulnerable space to be for us. And
yeah,
not all, but it's easier just to hide behind your painting and not really talk about it and just show it. But yeah, the first time I did it, I was shaking like a leaf, and the camera was shaking, and my daughter asked, "Mommy, like it looks like there was an earthquake." And and
yeah, yeah.
so but
And then the
with
second one was a little
time,
bit easier, and then a
yes,
little easier.
yeah, and that's why I'm able to do this now, is because of the practice I had. And I always envisioned, after we did all of that and I got to know all the different artists, I envisioned interviewing each and every one of them, because I find each one so fascinating. And I got to know you and your work so well because of the shows. Everything you talked about earlier, I'm like, yeah, I know about that. Like your
Right, right.
looping and just your techniques. And I think it's just a wonderful platform, and so honored to have gotten to know you through there.
Oh,
Yeah.
back at you. You've got an amazing smile. So that
Thank you.
you just breathe through it and smile. So and that is a gift to be able to smile and talk. Oh, I had a great day today. How was your day? It was a wonderful day. My work. There's my big faces. It was inspired by Jackson Pollock. It's hard to do that.
For me, it's not, but
no, I know it's not. It's a gift. I mean, you gotta.
You're so
yeah,
kind.
it's true.
So do you have any words of wisdom for all the creative spirits out there?
Gosh, amazing. And it's coming
Yoda,
in.
Tom.
Right. Yeah. No, and again, it's all about ideas. What are your ideas that you've had in the back of your mind? If you kept a little post-it notepad with you all day and an idea would come, you started writing stuff down, you'd fill them up. So honor your ideas. Nobody draws like you. Nobody paints like you. Nobody sings like you. Nobody sculpts like you. Nobody dances quite like you. And always remember that, even if you're emulating a Jackson Pollock or Andy Warhol or Whitney Houston or whatever, it's still what you bring to the creative table that's going to be special and unique. And make it happen and work hard and play hard. And you could take a little idea of a little painting back there, that little painting back there by the dog bed. That painting changed my life. And it was an idea that I decided to act on, doing a painting of my golden retriever looking at a tennis ball. And you don't stop there. I don't pigeonhole yourself into being, I'm the guy who paints golden retrievers. I'm the guy who paints with basketballs. I paint giant portraits. I paint with both hands at the same time, because I took drum lessons. You got two arms, use them. Paint with your opposite hand as much as you can, and it'll paint with two hands at the same time, and just give it a shot.
Yeah.
It's like you're creating a third person. Why should you? I mean, you're not an amputee. If you're left-handed, use this other arm to paint. Start out by doing big. If you have to do big filler areas, use your opposite hand. Get these muscles and tendons going, and do a little self-discovery that way. But honor your ideas. Make your ideas happen, and give yourself permission to respect and honor and act on your ideas. God, that was good. That was pretty good.
We could be a clapper right now.
I know. How many ums did I have with that?
I don't know. I have to listen to it again. Well, that's what happened in the beginning when I was doing these podcasts. There was a lot of and
right. And I found myself just after we talked about that, like I felt one coming on. Oh, not gonna do it.
No.
Oh, so it's been nice talking to you. And
okay, so Where can people find you and your work?
You can go to Instagram at Tom Mosser Design. You can go to tommosserdesign.com on my website. If on Facebook, if you type in Tom Mosser, you'll see a bunch of pages that show up. I have like 40 pages, sometimes just for individual paintings, or Tom Mosser's work for, and some of the stadium projects will pop up, like 8 of them. The painting with the Lucas series, it's on my website, but it's called A Golden Retriever at the Museum. That's the Facebook page. So you can check that out. There's a lot of fun photos and videos. But yeah, reach out to me if you have any ideas or brainstorming ideas. And I'm a wealth of knowledge.
You are, and I know people are gonna love this episode, and I hope they laugh and have gained a lot of wisdom.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, Sheryl. You're
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you for being here. This was delightful, and of course, as always, you make me laugh, and you're just a bright light. I love it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Henry's signing you off.
Bye, Henry.
He hasn't barked in like a month. Here's